everyone, how's it going? HKUHD here, and welcome to another video. So here it is, the iPhone 13 Pro review. Let's get straight into it. So what does this iPhone have that none of the other iPhones have? The best display on an iPhone, the best camera on an iPhone, the best performance on an iPhone, and the best battery life on an iPhone. So I will cover those in a moment. Let's quickly touch on the design. So the design is the same as the iPhone 12 Pro, with the squared off design and stainless steel band. I actually like this design, and would still like this design if and when Apple are able to remove the notch. But the subtle differences come from the smaller notch, larger cameras, and a new Sierra Blue. Okay, so let's talk about that display. Apple have made the notch smaller, and this was done by moving the stereo speaker and microphone right to the top of the phone. I'm not sure if there is any real benefit as Apple has not added any more information. The screen is the Super XDR display and is actually brighter than the previous generation, and this helps in those really bright environments. So this iPhone can now hit 1000 nits of typical peak brightness, as well as the 1200 nits with HDR. But this isn't the best part of the display, and that is its new 120Hz ProMotion display, which adapts based on what's on the screen, whether that's scrolling or watching a video. So ProMotion can refresh from 10 to 120 times per second and all the frames in between. So the truth about ProMotion, if you're used to a high refresh rate screen, then you may notice ProMotion straight away. However, if you haven't, then you may not even notice it. ProMotion is one of those things you need to try for yourself. I think the best way to describe it is when you're scrolling, the text remains sharp. I personally wouldn't recommend upgrading just for this feature alone. I do think Apple's 60Hz screens on the other iPhones are good, mainly because iOS is well optimized for its hardware, but it does create a nice smooth experience. So next we have the cameras. I won't go into too much detail, as I think there are already some great videos out there that showcase this better than I would. So we get the same three camera setup, with the mic, LiDAR, and the True Tone flash. So what I really like about the cameras in the iPhone 13 Pro is that it's the same exact camera you get in the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So this is great as you can go for the more portable option without sacrificing the camera quality or the features. So one of those features is macro photography, and this will allow you to magnify your subject. So here are some examples. It's quite a nice feature and I find myself trying it on different items. You can also record in macro video, and it does a good job of picking out the PlayStation symbols in the DualSense controller. It may be useful in those situations where you're trying to look at small text and then using the live text feature. One problem with macro photography was that it would switch automatically to the ultra-wide camera. As of iOS 15.1 there is now a toggle to turn this off. Another feature we get is cinematic mode, and it's like portrait mode for video, and this gives your videos a sense of depth. So here you can see the focus on the plant. If I apply the focus to the phone, then you notice how the bokeh changes for everything around it. If you double tap on a subject, then it will apply an autofocus tracking lock. Unfortunately, you can only lock in the autofocus and not the exposure. So after finishing filming with cinematic mode, you can actually make changes to your video. So if you select your video, then click edit, then you can start making changes. So you can add a new focus point, and you can do this by scrubbing through the video and then selecting your subject, and then this will add the focus point. You can also remove focus points by selecting where the focus point is and then selecting the bin icon. You can make changes to the depth of field. You can do this by selecting the aperture value or f-stop. Then change the value to add more or less blur. You can also turn off the manual tracking. So the limitation of this is that the video is only shot at 1080p at 30 frames per second in HDR, and when testing this on certain objects it has found it difficult to find the edges. Overall it is a nice to have, but I would still use the main primary camera over this. Another feature we get is Photographic Styles. So these are subtle filter-like adjustments that you can enable before you've taken any photos. These styles come in 4 presets: rich contrast, vibrant, warm, and cool. Tone and warmth are customizable for each style, so you can make changes to suit your needs, and they will remain the same until you make changes again. Do bear in mind if you use Photographic Styles that you can't change this after you have taken the photo. Next we have ProRes. With the update to iOS 15.1 we finally get native access to ProRes, and you can enable this in the format settings of the camera. So one test I wanted to try was to record a 1-minute video in ProRes and then see how long it takes to transfer to my MacBook Pro. So here you can see the ProRes video on my phone. It's about 5.4 gigabytes for a 1-minute video, and that's only a still video. So the way I transfer videos is to use Airdrop, and that's what I'm going to try here. So I'm just going to select the MacBook Pro. Okay, so now that's all ready, let's go ahead and time it. I will quickly skip over this and cut to the end. Okay, so here we're getting quite close. So it took around 1 minute 42 for a 60-second video, which is quite a while considering that people would have a lot more footage to transfer. Another test I wanted to try was to have the file on an external hard drive and then transfer it to the downloads folder on the Mac. So here we can see the file is on my external hard drive. So if I just drag it over and time it, let's see how long that takes. So you can see it took around 13 seconds, which is more acceptable. I did also try to import the footage into the Photos app using the iPhone charging cable, but was unable to do so. If you are planning to use ProRes, then make sure you get a high storage capacity on your iPhone. Maybe 512 gig or the 1TB. Another thing to note is ProRes has its own folder under your albums, so you can easily remove the ProRes videos and save yourself some storage after you're done with them. So on the performance on this iPhone 13 Pro, it has the new A15 Bionic chip with a 5-core GPU. That's compared to the 4 on the iPhone 13. Apple doesn't really say what this extra GPU core does, but we can guess it makes things a little faster. This chip powers through everything with relative ease and gives us those new camera features as well as being more efficient. The final thing that has been improved on this iPhone is the battery life. So Apple have said that the iPhone 13 Pro will last 1.5 hours longer than the iPhone 12 Pro. So here you can see I was reaching an average of almost 6 hours off screen on time. So the battery life has been improved with the new A15 Bionic chip with more power efficient components, a larger battery, and power optimizations. So there are two ways you can charge this phone. One is with the MagSafe charger, which will allow you to charge up to 15 watts, and the other is using a power adapter which can charge up to 20 watts depending on which one you buy. Unfortunately, there is no true fast charging, but I guess it helps that the battery life is actually really good. So what improvements do I wish to see in the future iPhone? I would like for the iPhones to use USB-C for faster charging, faster transfer speeds, which would make sense for ProRes, as well as only needing to use one cable for different devices. It would be great for if and when Apple are able to remove the notch, and also improvements again to the camera, and hopefully a better cinematic mode, where we can shoot in 4K and change the frame rate. So here are my final thoughts. It's a nice upgrade packaged in the same design. What I will say is when using this phone day to day, I don't really notice a difference, apart from the solid battery life. This can comfortably get through a whole day of usage. I could probably stretch it even over 2 days. When you start using the camera, you appreciate the difference, and if you ever use another iPhone, you appreciate the buttery smooth experience. The truth is not everyone is upgrading their phone once a year, and that's perfectly fine. I think if you compare this to say an iPhone XS, then the jump is huge. I am a big advocate for understanding what you need from a phone, then buying the most suitable phone for those needs. But of course there will be people who buy the best phone without using many of the features, but that's okay, I guess, each to their own. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I hope you found it useful in deciding whether you should upgrade to this iPhone 13 Pro or not. If you got value from this video, then drop a like as it really helps the channel out. If you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Please feel free to comment any questions you may have. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.